Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year! I can't even begin to express how elated I am for what God's about to do through this channel this year. I've gotten a lot of testimonies that literally have brought me to tears through this channel. Okay, without all the sappy stuff and without further ado, let's get into the first topic for the first piece of 2018. I think this piece is a first of its kind because it involves a lot more theatrics than what I've been doing in the past videos. So next week's piece is called Stone Her. Stone her. There is a story in the Bible called Jesus with the woman caught in adultery. And if you don't know, adultery is cheating on your spouse. You know you're supposed to stay faithful to your husband and wife, but you going around sleeping with everybody. Adultery was actually a capital crime, and the punishment for that crime was death. Not necessarily being stoned to death, but since that was so popular in those times, people enjoyed stoning. I don't know why. So the story of Jesus with the woman caught in adultery is found in John chapter 8. Got it. And it's from verses 1 through 11. Now, this story always has me shook because there's so many lessons that are still even being revealed to me than what I learned when I was like younger, or like a younger believer, younger Christian, whatnot. This is a story of do not judge if you cannot be judged by the same standard. This is a story of go and sin no more, that we are called to be sinless, 100% without sin. This is a story of do not look at the speck in someone else's eye if you ain't picked out the log in your own eye. This is a story of redemption, of grace, of someone who was an outcast. I'm no better than this next person. I'm no better than this woman. There's nothing that I've done that I can justify myself before God and say, God, I deserve heaven and she doesn't. If you think that you can stand there with a stone in your hand ready to condemn someone else for a sin that you think is worse than your own, you fail to understand what redemption really is. You fail to understand what it is that Christ did on the cross. Because Christ died for the adulterers, for the prostitutes, for the cheaters, for the liars, for the gamblers. He died for all sinners and all sin. Not just the sins that we think are worse than our own. A lot of people really love this story because I don't know about y'all, but I can relate to it on one term or another. I was once a person holding a stone in my hand. And even still, sometimes I find myself like, ooh, what's that person doing? What's that person doing? And then God's like, check yourself. Check yourself first before you start checking other people. I was once a person with a stone in my hand, and I was also once the woman caught in adultery, brought before other people, brought before a crowd. And I've always had questions about this story. I know this was a sexist society, so I'm like, where's the man at? Like, why wasn't no one ready to stone him? The Bible says that she was caught in the act of adultery, which means she was in the middle of doing what sis was doing. She was probably naked or had limited to no clothing on. They dragged her and brought her in front of a crowd, brought her before Jesus Christ. She's bearing her shame in front of everybody. And I bet you she's thinking in her head, but I know I'm not the only one who sinned. I know I'm not the only one who's done this. I know I'm not the only one who's done this terrible thing, or has done terrible things. And I'm sure she's thinking that Jesus coming before her, I don't know how often she's heard about Jesus or if she's heard about him at all, but she's thinking this man who claims to be the Son of God is coming before me holy and righteous, a good teacher, a good loving teacher. He's probably gonna stone me first. But Jesus didn't do that. He showed her love. He affirmed her worth. He clothed her in righteousness in the midst of her nudity. Can you imagine what form of love that is? And we don't know anything else about this woman. After she leaves, this is the first and last we've heard of her. What I do know is that she had an unforgettable encounter with Jesus Christ. In the midst of having a choice between judging her, condemning her, and loving on her, he chose love. And this was in the midst of people who were following laws and following religion, which told them, stone her. Her sin is worse than yours. She deserves to die for it. That's the death I deserve for taking someone's pencil in the 2nd grade. Because me taking someone's pencil in the 2nd grade is no different from this woman caught in adultery. But still, Jesus chose to love both of us the same. This piece is going to be from her perspective. It's going to actually be her afterthoughts, how she felt, what she was thinking, how baffled she was that this man, Jesus Christ, chose to love her in the midst of everyone who wanted to kill her, who wanted to condemn her. I'm going to share it next weekend, so be on the lookout. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next weekend with Stone Her. Bye!